When I say the word mountain, your mind probably conjures up images of mighty stone peaks, skyscraping pinnacles, and snow-covered summits. And while these images are undoubtedly mountains, there are a lot of other naturally occurring peaks and summits that also lay claim to that title, including the state of Louisiana's highest point, Mount Driskill. But is Mount Driskill really a mountain? To find out, we're going to hike to its peak and see if the title of mountain is truly deserved. But first, we have to get there.
So here's the plan. It is about 10:30 a.m. in the morning, and we have a 4-hour drive ahead of us because we're north of Dallas and Mount Driskill is all the way over in Louisiana, east of Shreveport. The issue is that there's a good chance it's going to rain tomorrow, so before the sun sets, we need to get going.
Hey there, Future Michael here. So, 4 hours is a pretty long time to just drive, so I made 2 pit stops along the way. The first being the Tyler Museum of Art to stretch my legs and appreciate some of the galleries, and the second being the Louisiana State Exhibit Museum to admire the displays and learn a bit about the state's history and culture. After that, though, straight onto the trail.
Alright, so it is about 6 o'clock at the moment. We made it over to Louisiana, and we're currently at the trailhead for Driskill Mountain. In fact, there is the sign. And if you look that way, that's the trailhead. And now, we gotta hike that trailhead to get to the top.
And to the top we go. But what about the trail there? What is the path to Louisiana's highest point like?
First impressions, let's see here. The trail so far is really nice. I love the fact that it's super green. I was kind of worried there was going to be a lot like some of the other hikes that I've been on in the past where it's a lot of really dry, boulderish, just unverdant hikes, if that makes sense. But this is really nice. I'll say there's trees, there's grasses. It does seem like this is a, what's the word? Motorized path, but honestly that's not too bad of an issue. Okay, so I know I was saying that the path kind of just looks like a motorized path the entire way, but literally maybe what, 3 minutes after I said that, it forks and the trip to the top goes through this big green corridor. At least they have the decency to put these nice big signs to make it obvious.
And so we follow the signs and turn left at the fork, hiking down more rugged path than the tire-made one we started on. However, it doesn't take long before something mounted on the side of the trail catches my eye.
There's a little like marker plaque over here. It's a little informational. I don't know if that's getting across on the camera or anything, but it's pretty neat. Okay, so what I gather from that plaque is that the trail forks left and right again, which it does. I'll say there's the left, there's the right. And while this is something of a designated trail, this also leads to Driskill Mountain, and it is for more experienced hikers. So of course I gotta hike the harder trail. But the funny thing is, it forks again up there. So we have 2 paths. The one to the right and the one to the left. Both of these head up to Driskill Mountain, but the plaque said to follow the blue colors, and that has no blue colors. However, the left also says that's the mountain bypass, whereas in that says this path is via the Falls Mountain Trail. So I guess we're gonna go with the Falls Mountain Trail because I think that's the tougher one. And if not, I guess we will take the other one on the way back. Who knows? We'll find out. So, I think I understand why they call it False Mountain, because I just hiked up a bunch of like elevation, and now it's a lot of downhill into the green abyss there. Whew. So let's see what's down there. That's the path we just came down from, and would you look at that? There's a sign. Looks like that was the False Mountain. Let's go find the real one. And a few steps later, I found something neat. You see that? That is the reverse fork. So that fork that we did earlier, we came from that direction. And if we had gone left when we were heading through here, we would have come down that direction. So to get the full picture, I think I know I'm going to be taking the path that I haven't done on the way back. But first, we gotta go this way.
And as I continued down that way on my journey to the summit of Driskill Mountain, stepping over large fallen logs, walking over scrambling roots, and hiking through the ever-present greenery, I could tell that I was beginning to get close to my destination.
Ooh, I see another sign. You guys see it? I wonder what it has to say. Let's go take a look. Well, not the sign I was hoping for. Just kind of tells you where we've been and the way back out. But I got some good news. There's a much bigger sign over here. And a great big cairn, too. I think I know what that means. Look at that. There's our big sign. Driskill Mountain, elevation 535 feet. And right over there is the cairn. The cairn marking the highest point in Louisiana. Whew. Super cool. Whew, okay, so the big question. Is Mount Driskill really a mountain? Well, that's kind of a hazy question with a equally hazy answer, because the reality of the situation is there isn't really a hard definition for what a mountain is.
Let me explain. You see, if we pull up the definition of a mountain, we get something like this: a large natural elevation of Earth's surface rising abruptly from the surrounding level, a large, steep hill. And it makes sense. When you think of a mountain, that's a fairly apt description, and for mountains that tower thousands of feet into the air, like Mount Everest, the Matterhorn, or Mount Denali, that word large is obvious. But large is something of a subjective word. So what if we go looking for something a bit more concrete? Surely there has to be a cutoff height for what makes a mountain a mountain. Well, according to the UK, a mountain must have a minimum height of 2,000 feet. And in the United States, the height that used to define a mountain was 1,000 feet, but that notion was abandoned. So if we go by either of those definitions, no. Coming up at only 535 feet, Driskill Mountain isn't really a mountain. However, most organizations agree that there really is no universally accepted definition of a mountain, and that tracks. There are a multitude of tiny mountains in the world, such as Mount Witchaproof, Mount Hiroyama, Woodall Mountain, and, of course, Driskill Mountain. These little mountains didn't get the title of mountain because of their height. but because they were important to the local people in some fashion. So, is Mount Driskill really a mountain? I don't know. I guess you'll have to come hike it for yourself and see if it really deserves that title.
But now I gotta climb down this mountain, or maybe it's not a mountain. So I'll see you guys later. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Leave a comment if you have anything to say. And I will see you guys later.